What we need for our salvation comes from God the Father and can only be received in the manner of a gift. And this is why, as an essentialist, Jan Ternovsky believed contemplative prayer was so important. Contemplative prayer in the Carmelite tradition is about welcoming the word of the Father. It's about saying yes, about having hospitality to Jesus. In the book of Revelations, Jesus reveals that he stands at the door and knocks. And that's true for churches, and it's true for societies, but it's also true for each one of us individually. Jesus stands at the door and knocks at the door of our hearts. Contemplative prayer is opening the door to Christ. It's welcoming him. When you welcome someone, it's not always convenient. Sometimes you have all these crazy things going on in your family, and then Uncle Fred wants to come out of nowhere. You're not ready for Uncle Fred, but you can't say no to Uncle Fred. So you got to open up the door to Uncle Fred. And you find the best you have, and you put him in the best room you can, and you let everybody be inconvenienced because Uncle Fred is important to us, and we love him, and we're going to show him hospitality. Well, that's the way God comes to us. God comes to us rather vulnerable. He's dependent on us welcoming him and showing us hospitality. And when he does that, he knows he is inconveniencing us. He knows it's not easy. He knows that it's going to be demanding to have him in our hearts. Contemplative prayer is prayer that lets God have the space he needs to be in our hearts. And what kind of space does God need? The space that God needs in our hearts is the space that allows him to purify us and we still trust him. It's the space he needs to enlarge us, because really our hearts, until he enlarges them, our hearts are too small for him. He wants to enlarge those, and he can only enlarge it. The only way you enlarge anything at all, it's suffering, it's hard work. And he needs hearts that are willing to allow him to expand our capacity for love, and our capacity for truth, and our capacity to feel what we ought to feel. This is God's work in the soul. Those of you, and I know there are some Carmelites here tonight, those of you who come out of the Carmelite tradition, you know that contemplative prayer isn't an easy thing, that there's times of great dryness and difficulty. But you also know that it's absolutely beautiful, because despite all the inconvenience that contemplative prayer can be in your life, God is doing something beautiful in your heart. God does not disappoint. Our hope does not disappoint. And it's lessons like these that Jan passed on to Karol Wojtyła. Karol, who already, as a young man, saw his dad every night reading the sacred scriptures, and in the morning, reading the sacred scriptures and praying in the early morning hours. Karol Wojtyła would begin to make that his life habit too. He would begin to spend hours in prayer, inviting the Lord, welcoming the Lord into his heart, so he too could live a transformed life.